Time in heaven does not pass the way it does on earth, but even eternity can feel the ache of change. After that day, Gabriel's wings never glowed quite the same. The radiance was still there, yes, but now it carried something deeper, the mark of knowledge, the cost of revelation. Heaven eventually sang again, yet beneath the melody, there was a faint echo of sorrow. Because everyone remembered the moment when truth divided them, when one voice revealed that love would one day descend. Lucifer's light still burned brilliantly for a while, but it had lost its warmth, and Gabriel, who once spoke words that moved creation, now spoke more softly, as if careful not to wound heaven again. He understood something few could, that truth is not always peaceful, that obedience to the divine will sometimes mean standing in the center of misunderstanding, that even in heaven, revelation comes with a cost. And yet, Gabriel never regretted it, because when the time finally came, when the Word wrapped himself in flesh and cried in a manger, the heavens wept, not in confusion, but in awe. Gabriel's forbidden revelation had become fulfilled prophecy. The message that once shook heaven had now healed the world. He had seen the circle complete, from silence to sound, from doubt to redemption. And as he looked upon the newborn Savior that night, perhaps Gabriel whispered to himself the same words he had spoken in the beginning. The Almighty gives not to diminish, but to multiply. The revelation had never been a mistake. It had been the beginning of love's greatest story. If this story moved you, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss a story like this one here on Gospel Insights. Before the first dawn, before the galaxies began their endless dance, before light itself had a name, there was silence. This was holy silence, a silence so full of meaning that every ripple of thought in heaven felt alive. It wasn't emptiness, it was expectancy, the stillness of something about to begin. In that timeless expanse, the glory of the Almighty pulsed, like a heartbeat through all creation. There was no day or night, no shadow or flame, only radiance, rolling endlessly, wrapping every being in perfect love. And at the center of it all stood the one who would soon be called the Word. Around him moved the great archangels, beings of light so vast that their very wings could stir the fabric of eternity. Michael, the guardian of strength, Raphael, the healer of wounds yet to be made, Uriel, the keeper of mysteries, and then Gabriel. Unlike the others, Gabriel did not wield a sword or carry the weight of command. His power was his voice. When he spoke, creation bent to listen. His words were not sound, they were light made audible, the kind of voice that could awaken sleeping suns. But here's the question: why did heaven need a voice, if all was already perfect? What message could exist before creation, before sin, before even time began? That's where Gabriel's story begins, because before he ever carried good news to man, he carried a secret to heaven, a message born not out of rebellion, but revelation, one that even he didn't fully understand. The Almighty had called a gathering, the thrones, the cherubim, the seraphim, beings that burned with eyes of flame, assembled around the sea of glass. The air shimmered with divine energy. Something sacred was unfolding. And then, for the first time in eternity, the voice spoke. There shall be a creation beyond the stars, a world formed in my image. Heaven trembled with awe. The angels erupted in songs so beautiful that light itself seemed to dance in response. Yet amid the praise, Gabriel felt something stir deep within him. A stirring he couldn't name. It wasn't pride. It wasn't doubt. It was curiosity. Why would the Almighty, who needed nothing, choose to create something fragile, mortal, and bound by time? Why would perfection choose imperfection? And then came the command that would change him forever. Gabriel, said the voice that filled eternity, you shall bear my word to the hosts. You shall speak what I speak. At that moment, the weight of destiny rested on Gabriel's shoulders. Every word he would ever speak would echo the voice of God himself. It was an honor beyond comprehension, and yet it carried a hidden cost, because one day, that voice, would reveal something heaven was not ready to hear. As Gabriel took his place before the assembly of angels, his light glowed brighter than ever, and for the first time, eternity prepared to listen, not to God directly, but to his messenger. And it was in that moment, before sound was born, before the universe had a pulse, that the seeds of the forbidden revelation were planted, because sometimes the greatest secrets are whispered before the story even begins. Heaven had always been music. Every breath, every motion, every flicker of light, it all moved in rhythm with the divine. No jealousy, no fear, no separation, just perfect unity flowing like a river of living fire around the throne. But that day, something changed. As Gabriel stepped forward, the very radiance of the heavens leaned toward him, countless eyes, burning like jewels, fixed on the messenger. The air was alive with a silence so deep it hummed. He opened his mouth, and eternity listened. Thus says the Almighty, Gabriel declared, his voice trembling with glory. A new creation shall rise, a realm clothed in dust and breath, a being made in our image, one who will walk in time, yet carry eternity within. The heavens shuddered, the seraphim bowed their fiery heads, the angels could not comprehend it. A creation made not of light, but of dust. You could feel the confusion ripple through the choirs, the idea that something less could be called the reflection of the Most High. It didn't make sense. How could the infinite give a piece of himself to the finite? But Gabriel wasn't finished. The revelation continued to pour through him liquid lightning. And when they fall, he said, when their hearts grow cold and their light fades, the Word himself shall descend. He will walk among them as one of them. He will become what they are, to restore them to what they were meant to be. That was the moment heaven fell silent. Every wing froze mid-beat. Every song died in the air. Even the winds that carried praise stopped moving. The Word, the Eternal One, become mortal. It sounded like blasphemy to some, like love beyond comprehension to others. And at the center of that shock stood Gabriel, trembling under the weight of the words that had just passed his lips. Michael stepped forward, his face ablaze of holy fire. Gabriel, he said, do you understand what you have spoken? Gabriel bowed, his voice breaking softly. I spoke only what I was given. I do not question the word, yet my spirit trembles to carry it. In the crowd of the heavenly host, another presence stirred. Lucifer, he was radiant beyond measure, beauty personified, the morning star, the one who led the choirs of worship with tones that could melt even light into tears. But in that moment, something in his eyes dimmed. A shadow, a faint but real, flickered across his face, because what Gabriel had just said struck at the core of his pride. If the Word himself would descend to serve a creation made of clay, then what was the purpose of all their perfection? If God would give his glory to mortal beings, then where did that leave heaven's firstborn sons of light? A murmur spread among the angels, not rebellion yet, but confusion. And confusion, in heaven, was unheard of. Gabriel could feel it, the ripples of unease spreading outward from where he stood. His light flickered, unsure. Had he done something wrong? Had he spoken too much? He lifted his eyes toward the throne, and in that instant, he understood something most angels never would. Truth is not always welcomed, even in heaven, because revelation always divides before it unites. And this one revelation, that the infinite would one day become flesh, had just cracked heaven's harmony for the first time in all eternity. From that day, Gabriel was no longer just a messenger. He was a mirror. Every word he spoke forced others to see the parts of themselves they'd rather ignore. And though he did not know it yet, this single message, the one he was never supposed to speak, would echo all the way to a stable in Bethlehem and to a cross on a lonely hill. But before that prophecy could ever come true, heaven itself would have to survive the storm it unleashed. When Gabriel's final word faded, heaven didn't sing, the stars stood still, the winds froze midstream, as though creation itself feared to breathe. Then Lucifer stepped forward, the morning star, radiant as molten gold, with eyes like dawn's first light. Every movement of his wings shimmered with music, Yet this time, that music carried tension, a creation of dust. He asked softly, "And the Eternal will dwell among them?" His tone was calm, but the edges cut deep. No one had ever questioned the word. Until now, Gabriel lowered his gaze. "So it has been spoken," he replied. "A love that chooses humility." Lucifer's expression darkened slightly. "Love," he murmured, "or weakness? If the infinite bows to the finite, then what becomes of heaven's glory?" A ripple of unease passed through the gathered host. Some looked toward Gabriel, others toward Lucifer. The light that once moved in perfect harmony now flickered. Uncertain, Gabriel stepped closer, his glow soft but unyielding. "The Almighty does not lose glory by giving it, brother. Love shared is not love lost." Lucifer's jaw tightened. For the first time, his brilliance felt heavy, beautiful but proud. "Then perhaps," he whispered, "this love is no longer ours to understand." And with that, he turned away. His wings caught the light like fire, but there was a shadow in their glow, faint, yet undeniable. Gabriel stood frozen, feeling the fracture that words had created. The harmony of heaven had bent, and though the music still played, it no longer sounded the same. The forbidden's revelation had done more than foretell a savior. It had opened the first wound in paradise. In the end, Gabriel understood a truth that no other angel had to face. The greatest battles are not always fought with swords or armies, but with obedience and courage. He did not raise a weapon, nor command legions of angels, yet the words he spoke reshaped eternity itself. Because of one revelation, heaven trembled. Lucifer questioned, the harmony of the angels faltered, and Gabriel carried a burden that would echo across time. Even when his voice shook, even when the host looked at him with uncertainty, even when the message he carried felt too heavy for heaven itself to bear, Gabriel never turned away. He stood steadfast in his duty, trusting in the wisdom and love of the Almighty. Centuries later, when he stood before a young virgin named Mary and delivered the words, "You will bring forth a son," he finally understood the full weight of the revelation he had once delivered in the throne room. The prophecy that had divided the angels had become the very instrument of humanity's salvation. The message that once cracked heaven's harmony now brought healing and hope to the world. Gabriel, the messenger who once trembled before their heavenly host, had become the herald of redemption, and his forbidden's revelation had been revealed not as a mistake, but as the beginning of God's greatest act of love. This love stepped down from the heights of heaven, took on human form, and fulfilled the promise that had been whispered in secret long before the world was made. Gabriel's story ends where ours begins, with a message so powerful that it was too great for angels, yet perfect for humanity, reminding us that even the heaviest burdens, when carried with faith, can become the greatest gifts to the world. If this story moved you, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss a story like this one here on Gospel Insights.